Orville Redenbacher. Orville Redenbacher is responsible for one of my favorite things in all of business, which is he made a commercial and he simply said, do one thing and do it better than anybody. As simple as that may seem, I got a minor in business. Orville Redenbacher making that statement in a commercial has been more powerful in my business life than any of the classes that I took at the University of Oregon, and I am not joking about that, but it is a massive thought. Do you want to spread yourself thin? Do you want to dip your toe in a whole bunch of pools, throw something at the wall, see what sticks, but to up the opportunity that something in fact does stick, you do more things? Or do you want to do Orville Redenbacher's approach and you do one thing, but you're going to be laser focused on it? It is a massive concept that you're going to have to ask yourself. Everybody has to ask themselves that. So there's talk right now, Tyson Fury and Jon Jones, and they're going to go out and they're going to compete in something. And they have the world's biggest voice. The Joe Rogan program is the #1 podcast in the world. And you've got Joe Rogan on board already. I think that Joe even started it. I think the first person to ever put Fury and Jones in an apparatus together known as a ring, I think, is Joe Rogan. I don't think either one of them did it. But now that you've got some takers, and now you've got Dana White as a way of making this go away, Dana said, yeah, great, I'll do it. And he's serious, and Dana would do it. But as a way of making this talk stop, instead of doing what everybody else has always done from the beginning of time of, well, mixed martial arts has proven itself over boxing, and it's much more a complete fighting form, and it takes years, and it takes experience, and it's that blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing what everybody else has done as a way of making it go away, Dana said, I'll do it as a way of making it go away. It was a really interesting thing. But by the way, why wouldn't Dana do it? It seems as though the only thing separating Jones and Fury is an agreement on rules. That's what it seems. And it's a huge deal if you can come to the table with Joe Rogan. Now, I wouldn't make believe for you that Joe wouldn't have got there eventually. That if that fight was announced, that's not something that Joe would have got behind. I'm just sharing for you the order of events. There's some things that are too good to be true. There's some things that you just can't look the other way from. Which is why Dana, without wasting any time, without doing any promoter's tricks, without doing anything that you've ever seen anyone do ever to build interest and to gate headlines, he did the opposite. He agreed to it, but he agreed to it as a way of making it stop. Don't miss that part of it. You'll be missing the psychology of a genius. So, if all that we're talking about is rules, then why doesn't Dana do it? He's got a venue, it's known as the Apex. He's got a distribution arm, it's known as ESPN. He's got the money known as his checking account. He's got one half of the athletes under contract right now, and he's got the other half of the athletes who's agreed from the other side of the pond that he will do it. So why not put him in a grappling event? Just by example, he owns one. Not put him in a boxing event, just for example. I'm going to start a kickboxing league, of which, if I went through the rules of Fight Pass, he might also own one of those, and I don't know about it. But why would he not do that? If the only thing stopping Jones and Fury from getting in there, if it's not the money, it's not the camps, it's not legal work, it's not Eddie Hearn, it's the rules. Why would Dana not just make the fight and do it under boxing rules? Have you asked yourself that? Because it brings you back to Orville Redenbacher's point of do one thing and do it better than anybody. You want to know who tested that? Got an adverse reaction, but you want to know who tested that? Vince McMahon. You've got the king of wrestling. But he wanted to go into bodybuilding. That's what he really liked. He believed it was the body more than it was the leg drops. He's got very good reason to believe that bodybuilding would work. It bombed. It bombed. And Vince didn't understand. He's saying, wait a minute, I've got all the ingredients. I've got the guys, right? I've got the TV time. I know how to promote. I have everything that I need. Why is the audience not coming along? He could have figured it out. 2 decades go by, and Vince McMahon goes and he starts a football league. Now he's going to do the same thing. He's got the same distribution. He's got the same understanding of the audience in conjunction with artwork, in conjunction with storytelling. Changing the rules, putting the players in there, and it falls on his face. How come? Is there no room for a competitor to the NFL? That's what people will tell you. Is there no room for bodybuilding as an industry where people are willing to separate with their time and money in exchange for a level of entertainment? That's what people will tell you. The reality is something a little more sinister, though. And the reality is, I now can't trust you. If you got tickets that are dragging in your football organization, so you're going to put Shawn Michaels in as the special quarterback just to draw, just to get attention, you'll succeed. You will draw and you will get attention. But in doing that, you're going to have to reveal to the world, I wasn't good enough at what it was that I did. I had to get gimmicky. I had to turn to Shawn Michaels and put him in a quarterback role. I had to bring something that was of interest and did have value and stick it over here in what's known as a turd that we're calling the XFL. I now can't trust you. And what would happen if Shawn Michaels went in and he played quarterback? He would make a record amount. Shawn would probably get $1 million for that game. If it's one down, statistically speaking, it takes about 6 seconds. So what do you next time? What do you do next week? How do you get Shawn back into the ring for what's going to be 44, 45 minutes? With presentation, with walkouts, with dancing, with playing the music, with doing all the showstopper stuff. How are you going to do that? How are you going to get him back in there to do that? Within 6 seconds, you give him $1 million. And then what happens with a Goldberg? Or what happens with a Stone Cold, where you've got other meaningful names? They're also willing to go out there, be the QB for a Sunday show that's struggling to fill up an arena. They also want that same $1 million. You're going to tell them no, and you're going to bring them back over here. This is what in lies the problem. If the only thing separating Jones and Fury is an agreement on the rules, but we have a guy that has the ability to do it under any rules that he wants, why doesn't he? And I'm just answering the question for you. This is where it becomes a problem. Leon Edwards and George Masvidal would have been a great fight. But we, the audience, were guaranteed to not get it the night 3-piece in a soda happened. As much as that was organic and draws you to want to see that, as much as Leon had the right to answer for that, and he was given very beautiful opportunities, opposite Nate Diaz, opposite Kamaru Usman, again with Kamaru Usman, getting ready for a main event with Colby Covington. The night of 3-piece in a soda, we knew we will never see Leon Edwards fight George Masvidal. Why? What if they did fight, guys? What if they made a bunch of money? What if they sold out an arena? What if they got a main event spot, which neither guy at that time was guaranteed to have? You put George Masvidal on a card, you were not guaranteed that he was going to be main event. You put Leon Edwards on a card, you were not guaranteed he was going to be main event. Not at that time in their careers. But that fight would have been, so why wouldn't you give it to him? You can't. Then you get the knucklehead copycats in the back that are going to go get somebody with an iPhone as you go and accost or commit a crime against one of your fellow fighters. There's reasons that you can't do it, which brings you back to what Orville Redelbacher said, which is do one thing and do it better than anybody. And I just bring this to your attention. It's wildly interesting that Jon Jones is willing to go against Fury. Fury is willing to go against Jon Jones. Joe Rogan of the Joe Rogan Experiment is already backing this, and you've got a promoter that says yes, but we can't agree on rules, even though that promoter has the ability to manipulate the rules. No other promoter has stepped forward. Why not? No one else has come forward and said, I'll do it. Here's the rules, but I bet Jon won't do this. Right? We've had this back and forth since Mobile, Alabama in 1993. It has never ended. It will never go away. But if your product is good and you're good enough at doing your product, you don't need to put Shawn Michaels in as your guest quarterback. Shawn Michaels is a professional wrestler. If you have a professional wrestling event, that's where you call Michaels. And the guy that's being the QB on a soon-to-be out-of-business XFL, if that's what he does and he doesn't do it very well, then that's the result that he gets. But every promoter out there who is missing the chance to get in on this and get the headlines and get the opportunity and just get the back and forth is missing a huge opportunity. And the one guy that's got it all is passing on the huge opportunity. And now you know why.